Hey everyone, back again with another video. Today we're going to talk about installing LEDs into your daytime running lights slash turn signals. It's not as easy as it seems. You think you just put the bulb in and it'll work, but that's not the case. There is a couple things you have to do to make sure it works. So I'll just kind of go through some of those things with you, and we'll go through those steps. It's pretty easy. There's a little bit of money investment, not too much, but it can be done. So let's get right to it. But before I do, the usual YouTube stuff. Don't forget to like, subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to ask. I always answer if I can. But other than that, let's get right to it. So what you're trying to do is get the turn signals to work like this. This is obviously the standard signal. And then if we go over here, that is, for example, the LED I'll be installing. But with the hazards turned off and the signal just blinking, this is right now, of course, just the right turn signal is on, then as you can see, it's got a fast blink. You need to be able to mitigate that in order for this to work. Otherwise, you're always going to get the fast blink, although all the lights are hooked up. To do that, you just need your LED bulbs, which you can buy anywhere online or anything like that, and you need some of these. These are resistors. You specifically need these ones, which are, let's see, 50 watt, 6 ohm. You need a pair of these to get them to work. So we're going to go through the setup. It's pretty straightforward, pretty easy to do, but I'll go through the setup with you and see what's involved in just setting these up. You want to make sure you mount them properly. They get pretty hot, so you don't want to just leave them hanging or anything like that, because if you just leave them hanging in here, they could make contact on the inside of the plastic, and of course you could get some melting over time and stuff. You just want to avoid that. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and mount it behind the light over here. So we're going to take that out. Just so you can see, this is the goal here. Now I have the resistor temporarily hooked up. I'll go into a little bit more detail in a bit, but you can see the signal is on. It's not running the hazards, which run normally. And you can see the signal is working normally. That is the goal. That's what we're looking to do. So the first thing you're really going to do is you're going to take off the headlight here. Keep in mind that we're doing the signal down at the bottom down there. The reason why you're doing this is because you need a good spot to mount the resistor. The resistor, like I mentioned earlier, gets hot. So I have the spot I'm choosing is underneath here, and I'll show you after. But for now, and also to another extent, it actually does make it easier to get to some of the wiring. So for those who don't know, taking out the headlight is just removing this one 10mm bolt here. And there you go. And once that's out, you just lift this notch right here up, and then you pull out the headlight, and then you just pull this out. It's kind of put a couple notches in there, so it's just kind of maneuvering it around while watching for things like on the lip up here and also on the bumper down at the bottom here. So you just grab and we're going to pull out, lift it, same lifting, that's going to come out there. Now there are some differences, major differences actually with mine, obviously, because I have the aftermarket spider headlights, so you wouldn't have all this extra wiring and stuff here, all these connectors and all that. None of that would be present in your car. But this is what I have in my setup here. Again, we'll get to that in a second, but now we'll move on to the next steps. So now we're going to take out the signal here, and it's just the it's Phillips head star point screws here. Now, a word of warning to you when you're doing this is that I had noticed the first time I did it, even using a drill, it caused it to spin on the head. You don't want to do that to strip out, because if you're not taking these out very often, and these bulbs, they don't go very often at all, really. Then they tend to, in the back, to build up a little bit of corrosion. So what I found actually worked was using a a Phillips head screwdriver, and then applying pressure and breaking them the first time. But since I've done this recently now, they should come out with a drill. There. And then once out, we're just going to grab that. Pull that right out there. Just going to take the screws out and move them aside. So this is what we're left with now. I have the 2 screws there. This is kind of hanging right here. You want to be careful when you're hanging it. And then it comes in, the wires come up and in through here, and they go into this harness over here. Now there is some differences, in a way kind of good for me, because I ran these LEDs, the LEDs to my turn signals up here, and and I've run this in, then actually a lot of it's already done, because when I ran these in, I actually ran them, as you can see, I ran it in and ran to the power into the signal already down here, and then I ran my own ground over here. So I can actually feed right into that system. But of course, for most people who are doing this, they're not going to have this set up, so I've got to talk to you as if you don't. So what you're actually looking at here is when you're putting in, you got to find which bulb is your signal bulb. And if you come and look down here, you'll see it is the blue wire. So this blue wire over here is what does the turn signal, just so you know. If you don't know and you're not sure, you can use a 12-volt meter. You ground out the meter and then just put the wiring right into, put the tip right into there, just right into the wire, and you'll be able to read it. But I've already tested it because I've already set this up and hooked this up. So I know the blue wire, that one right there, that one is what does my turn signal. That's what you're going to want to feed into. So the resistors don't have a direction, so it's not like there's a positive and negative that you got to hook. One side is positive, one's negative, anything like that. You don't have to do that. But you got to make sure you ground one side. So when you hook this up somewhere into this blue wire here, you can use the available connectors. I'll show you that in a bit. Then this part here you can hook up. Now you can do a few different things. One is you can locate the ground wire, which will be most likely the black wire that's feeding over here. I haven't tested it personally though, because like I said, I ran my own ground. So whether I had done this or not, I would probably be doing the same thing here, running a ground wire myself and hooking this up. I'm actually going to feed directly this resistor, one right into the power, and then one is going to go right into that ground right there. So if you haven't done it, you're going to want to drill, you're going to be drilling 3 spots. One into here for your ground, and then another spot for the resistor. I found though, on the other side anyways, I put the resistor over here. I found it to be a bit better of a spot, but you should be able to, you could put it here as well, whichever works best for you. So to get it right out of the way, we're just going to get that bulb changed. Now to change the bulb, you've just got to twist and open that up. You're going to pull that bulb right out, and you just grab and you pull firmly. Be careful, don't squeeze. Just hold firm and twist back and forth, up and down as you pull out. If you squeeze too hard, especially if it's been a long time, they can break in your hand. You don't want that to happen. And then we're going to hook that up there. Now you're going to want to check the polarity on these, because sometimes putting it one way doesn't work and one way does. So I'm just going to put on the hazard lights to run my test. As you can see, it works, so we know that's all set now. Now that we've tested it, we're just going to put it back together. So we're just going to put that in like that and put that right back in there. Now of course you could have run the resistor wire up there. I found it easier though to work up higher, up that way, because there's more room with the headlight. Here you're kind of fiddling around. Let me pull that back out. Right? If you're trying to feed into the wire here, one, the resistor is going to hang, because if you look, it's not a very long wire, so that's going to be, let me raise that up. There we go. So if you hook this up somewhere in here, the resistor is going to hang, right? So that's not the best spot. I find putting it up higher is going to be better. So that's why once you put the bulb in, you're kind of done with this part of it. You're just going to put that back in. Now I can't say this, but I'm just going to hand put these in, because those brackets in the back, they don't look, especially with age and something, they don't look the best. So I'm just going to do these up by hand. Taking it out is one thing, but putting it back, I don't want to accidentally over tighten and snap anything. So it could happen. Not that it will, it could. I'm just going to make sure they're good and just kind of hand tight. And that's it for this part of it here. So this part requires a little bit of fiddling. And I'll show you kind of what I mean. You'll see even the struggles that I have. So what you're going to do is you're going to split this open. Not a lot. You don't want to split this piece in here. And also if you look inside, you'll see one, there we go. You can see one is completely goes right through and one is plugged. The one that's plugged, that's the side that the resistor is going to go into, so keep that in mind. This first side here is where the wire you're going to attach. So you got to kind of pull this open a little bit. Just separate it. Not too much, you don't want to break it. And then once done, you're going to get your wires. So I'm going to use, see here, right here, one of the wires I already ran. If you're not using this, you can see a little further down is the blue wire. See down there? You run it over there. In this case, I'm just going to hook up into the existing power wire I hooked up to. I mean, aside from me doing this, it's the exact same process. There's no real difference. So you just put the wire in, and then you're just going to kind of work it in. Pull it open a bit. It's a little tricky to do, but get it in there. There. And that's it. Make sure it's only in the first side and it can move freely. That's how you know it's in properly. And then we're going to do the same for the ground. So again, I'm going to use a ground that I've already set up, which is this here. Now, so let's take a step back for a second. If you have not set up a ground, what you really could do is you'd put the resistor, one part of the resistor right in here, and then run a ground wire right through there. Here, I'll just use some cheap wire just to show you what I mean. Right, and you just feed that in there, and then you pinch it the same, and then with this all pinched all together, then you just hook that up to the chassis with a connector of some sort. That's one difference that you would do that I'm not doing here, because I already have done that with my previous setup, just to kind of reiterate that. So once again, I'm just separating it out. Then I'm going to go to my ground here. Push the wire in. Feed that in. There. And just make sure it's in properly. Just going to move it freely, make sure it moves. Now, once that's done, you're going to grab one end of the resistor. You take off the end piece, and you're just going to push that all the way in as far as it goes. And you're going to clamp this down, push it to kind of start it off, and it'll start pinching the wires. But other than kill yourself out with trying to push it, you just grab a pliers. You're just going to press down a bit more on it. There. Just to make sure. Basically what you're looking for is you're looking to make sure that piece of metal that's inside there, you want to make sure it's crimped down on both pieces of the wire. That's what you're looking for. That's what you're looking to have. Because once that's done, and then of course you want to make sure that this, where is it? There. See this part right over here? Has completely wrapped. This is the opening part. You want to make sure it's completely wrapped around and it's clamped on the other side over here. That's what's holding it all together. Alright, so you want to make sure you're doing all that. Now that's done, we're just going to do the same for the ground. We're going to take off the end piece off the ground. We're going to feed it in. Push it in as much as it can go. Put it around. Clamp it. Use the pliers to really get it down in there. Okay, and that's done. So believe it or not, you're pretty much on the tail end of things. What you'll want to do at this point here, I'm not going to bother to show you because I'm sure you can figure it out, is you just put on your car and turn on the turn signal and make sure the turn signal itself is working. You want to test before you start putting everything completely back together. So at this point, assuming you've done that. At this point here, before we get to the final step, which is going to install the resistor here, I like to throw a little bit of tape right onto the clips here. That's just to help prevent any corrosion or road salt, anything from that, especially if you're in areas that can have that type of materials getting into your car, sand, anything. Just prevent it from getting in there. do that for the other side over here. Sure, tape is good and tight, seals up as best as possible. The point being to get the salt and any other contaminants from preventing them from getting in there. Okay. And as we're closing in here now, it's going to take our drill, put the resistor I want to put it. You want to make sure wherever you put it, it's not going to get into any contact with anything as far as other wires and stuff, because again, as I said, this does get hot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pre-drill a couple holes. And then move this out of the way. You don't want to drill with that there, because obviously if you slip or something happens, you can damage the resistor and you're going to take it all apart. So now I'm just going to take my drill. Come over here. Alright, so now I've set the drill up with my necessary screws. We're just going to line this up here. Put our screw in. Alright, and then we're just going to go and just gotta get one more screw. Give me 1 second. Alright, so with the other screw in, I didn't bother filming. It didn't really make sense. You know the idea. You just put the other screw in. So with that all done now, you've now got your signal in at the bottom. All the wiring done. Your resistor is in. Everything is all set up. You should be able to just put this together now. And to put it back together, you just grab your headlight, put it over. Make sure all the wiring, everything's inside. And also, somewhat crucially, when you're putting it in, you just want to look through here. And just look at the resistor, make sure no wire or anything is making direct contact with it. You want to avoid that as best as you can. And then we're just going to line that up. And in case you're missing it, there's a few points. There's like one here and a couple here. And these line up directly. And just, down here, you do need to give yourself some leverage. There. So when you line this up here now, it's just a matter of moving this. There you go. Push it in. That holds everything together. You just take your 10 mil bolt. I'm just gonna. Also, if you have the drill, you can also just use the drill to zap this down with a 10 mil. If you have like a socket or something. One of those I can put it right into the drill. That'll help too. And then we'll just go this. Till it's tight. That's it. That's all there is to it. Simple, easy. Put the bulb in, hook up your resistor, away you go. I hope this video has helped you guys out in setting this up for you. You may think it's just as simple as putting the bulb in. It's not. You need that resistor too. But as you can see, even with some basic knowledge, everything, you can get it done. If you have any questions about it or anything like that, feel free to let me know. Other than that, thank you very much for watching. See you next video.